Julia Roberts walked back onto the View stage Monday morning, just 4 days after her explosive walkout that had dominated entertainment news. The audience gave her a standing ovation before she even sat down. Joy Behar looked noticeably uncomfortable, fidgeting with her cards as Julia settled into the guest chair with unusual intensity. Whoopi started cautiously. She said, "Julia Roberts has agreed to return to The View after last week's heated discussion." "Julia, thank you for coming back." Julia's megawatt smile was nowhere to be seen. She said, "I came back because I have more to say. Last week, I left because I was disgusted. This week, I'm here because disgusted isn't enough anymore." The tension was immediate and palpable. Joy tried to take control early. She said, "Julia, I think we both said things in the heat of the moment." "No." Julia cut her off sharply. "Don't do that. Don't pretend we both crossed lines. You attacked my life's work, called me a hypocrite, and dismissed my environmental activism as performance art. I defended myself. There's a difference." Sarah Haynes attempted to mediate. She said, "Maybe we can start fresh." Julia turned to her. She said, "Fresh? Sarah, your colleague spent the entire weekend trashing me on social media. She went on her podcast and called me unhinged. She told Andy Cohen I had a celebrity meltdown. Fresh isn't possible when someone's been poisoning the well." She pulled out her phone, showing screenshots. "Here's Joy on Twitter calling me another out-of-touch celebrity. Here's her on Instagram mocking my activism. Here's her telling anyone who'd listen that I'm unstable. You want fresh? Tell Joy to stop being a fucking rat." The audience gasped. The F-bomb on daytime TV was shocking, even bleeped. Joy's face went red. She said, "How dare you use that language? How dare I?" Julia stood up. "You've spent 4 days assassinating my character across every platform you have, and you're offended by my language? You're a rat, Joy. A bitter, backstabbing rat who attacks people when they can't defend themselves." Sunny Hostin tried to intervene. She said, "Julia, please, let's keep this civil." Julia laughed bitterly. She said, "Civil? Where was civility when Joy was telling Entertainment Tonight I was having a breakdown? Where was civility when she implied my charity work was tax evasion? You want civility? Start with your colleague." She walked closer to Joy, who stood up defensively. "You know what rats do, Joy? They spread disease. They hide in shadows. They feed on garbage. And that's exactly what you've been doing, spreading poison about me while I wasn't here to respond." Alyssa Farah Griffin weakly offered, "I think emotions are running high. My emotions are exactly where they should be." Julia responded without looking away from Joy. "I'm angry. I'm disgusted. And I'm done pretending this woman is anything other than what she is, a toxic presence who tears down anyone who threatens her relevance." This moment captures what happens when someone finally stops being polite to those who were never polite to begin with. When Hollywood royalty drops the act and speaks raw truth. When the gloves don't just come off, they're thrown in the trash. This is unfiltered honesty meeting calculated cruelty. Joy tried to fight back. She said, "You're showing your true colors." "I am," Julia shouted. "Finally, after years of smiling through your snide comments, your backhanded compliments, your constant need to diminish everyone around you, I'm showing my true colors. And you know what? They're prettier than yours." She turned to the audience. "You want to know what happened after I left last week? Joy spent 4 days trying to destroy my reputation. She called reporters. She went on every show that would have her. She tried to turn my standing up for myself into proof that I'm difficult. That's not journalism. That's revenge." Someone in the audience shouted, "Tell her, Julia." Julia pointed at them. She said, "See? People see through you, Joy. They see the bitter woman who can't stand when someone else gets attention, who can't handle being challenged, who responds to criticism by trying to destroy the critic." Joy, defensive now, said, "I was just giving my opinion." "Your opinion?" Julia's voice dripped with disdain. "Your opinion was that I'm a hypocrite for caring about the environment while having a carbon footprint. By that logic, no one can care about anything unless they're perfect. That's not an opinion. That's a weapon designed to silence people." She pulled out more evidence. "Here's what you didn't mention in your media tour, Joy. The millions I've donated to environmental causes. The sustainable changes I've made to all my properties. The renewable energy projects I've funded. You knew all this but chose to paint me as a fraud. That's not opinion. That's lying." Whoopi tried to restore order. She said, "Julia, I understand you're upset. Upset? Julia turned to her. Whoopee. If someone spent 4 days publicly trashing you, calling you unstable, questioning your life's work, you'd be more than upset. You'd be litigious. Lucky for Joy. I prefer public humiliation to lawsuits. She walked back to Joy, who was visibly shaking with anger. You're a rat, Joy. A rat who got caught. And now you're cornered. And we all know what cornered rats do. They lash out. So go ahead, lash out. Show everyone what you really are. Joy exploded. She said, You're a spoiled celebrity who can't handle criticism. There it is. Julia pointed at her. The real Joy Behar. Not the funny lady who makes jokes. The vicious bully who attacks anyone who won't bow down. The rat who bites when threatened. She addressed the other hosts. How do you sit next to her every day? How do you watch her destroy people and say nothing? Are the paychecks really worth your souls? Because you're all complicit in her toxicity. Sarah Haynes said weakly. That's not fair. Fair. Julia laughed. Was it fair when Joy spent 20 minutes last week attacking my life's work? Was it fair when she used her platform to spread lies about me all weekend? You want to talk about fair? Let's talk about accountability. She pulled out a final piece of paper. This is a list of every guest Joy has driven away from this show with her vitriol. Every woman she's attacked for not agreeing with her. Every person she's tried to destroy for standing up to her. It's 3 pages long. Single-spaced. That's your colleague's legacy. Security started moving toward the stage. Julia noticed and shook her head. Don't bother. I'm leaving. But not because you're making me. Because I've said what I came to say. Joy Behar is a fucking rat. A poisonous, bitter rat who's turned this show into her personal weapon against anyone she dislikes. As she gathered her things, she delivered more truth. You know what's really sad? This show could matter. It could lift women up, inspire conversations, make a difference. Instead, it's just Joy's platform for petty vengeance. And you all enable it because you're too scared or too comfortable to stop it. Joy, furious, shouted, Get out. Julia smiled coldly. She said, With pleasure. But remember this, Joy. I'm Julia Roberts. I'll go back to my life, my career, my success. You'll still be here, getting older and bitterer, attacking younger women because they remind you of what you never were and never will be. She headed for the exit, then turned back one last time. Oh, and Joy, when you go on your next media tour to trash me, and we both know you will, remember that everyone now knows what you are. A rat. A fucking rat who got called out on live television. That's your legacy now. Enjoy it. She looked at the audience. To everyone who's ever been attacked by someone like Joy, who's had their work diminished and their character assassinated by bitter people with platforms, speak up. Call them out. Don't let rats spread their disease unchallenged. Her final words, I'm Julia Roberts. I've played brave women for 30 years. Today, I decided to be one. And it felt fucking amazing. She walked off to thunderous applause. The show went to immediate commercial and never properly recovered. Joy tried to continue, but was visibly shaken. The remaining segments were disasters. Within minutes, #JuliaRobertsRad exploded online. The unbleeped version leaked immediately, making it even more powerful. The clip became one of the most watched moments in daytime TV history. Joy tried to respond on social media, but everything she posted made it worse. Her attempts to play victim fell flat when people could see Julia's evidence of Joy's media attacks. Celebrities flooded social media with rat emojis aimed at Joy. Even those who rarely engaged in controversy felt compelled to support Julia. Meryl Streep tweeted, When Julia Roberts calls you out, you've crossed every line. Joy Behar learned that today. Rat. The View faced unprecedented backlash. Sponsors pulled out not wanting to be associated with what many called toxic daytime TV. The network was forced to address the situation. Joy Behar announced a vacation that industry insiders said was a suspension. She never returned to the show full-time. At a film premiere weeks later, Julia addressed the incident. I don't usually use that kind of language. But sometimes regular words aren't enough. Sometimes you need to call a rat. And that felt like one of those times. She smiled her famous smile. I spent decades being nice to people who weren't nice to me. That day, I decided to try something different. And you know what? I recommend it. Life's too short to pretend toxic people aren't toxic. The revolution wasn't just in the confrontation. It was in refusing to let attacks go unanswered. It was in using language that matched the offense. It was in proving that even America's sweetheart has limits. And when those limits are crossed, even she can say, "You're a fucking rat," and mean every word.